السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلي وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering. Jazakumullah khair for coming up. It's last 10 days. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering and to gather us all in the Firdaus, inshallah, to be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and among the pious people, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, tabi'een. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering among the ones that the angels surround and whom the tranquility and peace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends upon us. And at the end of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all of us. Ameen. So inshallah, today is the last, of the series, of the 3-week series, the Inner Dimensions of Ramadan. And today it's specifically talking about the last 10 days. And then I kind of added the Ramadan after effect. Because Allah Alam, if we're going to live after Ramadan, how many times we're going to see each other. But I thought it might be important just to discuss this. And then the effects that we see usually after Ramadan. How many people were here at the khutbah that I gave yesterday? Just show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. So a lot of you. So I'm not going to go into too much details of the khutbah that I gave. However, when we talk about the last 10 days, essentially the purpose of the khutbah was addressing these things of what should we do in the 10 days? Because after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah, we should thank Him and praise Him that He allowed us to live and He wrote our life would exist until we reached the last 10 days. Until now, I think there's about at least between 4 and 5 janazas that have happened in central Jersey on its own. Individuals that have gotten into Ramadan, or maybe just a day before Ramadan, and then, subhanAllah, their time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote for them was up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took what belongs to Him back again, and they did not have the chance to reach the last 10 days of Ramadan. And so we should praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thank Him for this. And the best form of thank requires action. The best form of thanks requires action. We have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through our actions, in addition to what we say with our tongues. And so, when we come to the last 10 days, and I mentioned this in the khutbah, I'm going to mention it again as a reminder for myself and everybody whomever did not attend, is that the Prophet ﷺ did not treat the last 10 days of Ramadan the same way he treated the first 20. But rather, it was special. Aisha radiallahu anha is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, or Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, but this is the narration of Imam Muslim. She had said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دخل العشر الأواخر كان الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يجتهد في العشر الأواخر ما لا يجتهد في غيره. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to يجتهد, which means exert, right? Strive, do a lot of things. In these last 10 days of Ramadan, in a manner that he did not do and perform in the other 10 days of Ramadan. And that also included for him to do i'tikaf. Because the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم in the last 10 days, as Aisha also mentioned, the Prophet ﷺ إذا دخل العشر أحيا الليل وأيقظ أهله وشد المئزر. And then she would also say that كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتكف في العشر الأواخر من رمضان. He used to do i'tikaf in the last 10 days of Ramadan. And that is included in what he would do in terms of exerting his most effort in that time. So the Prophet ﷺ would stay in the masjid, disconnect himself from the entire world around him essentially, in order to focus on just worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the last 10 days, evens and odds. And of course, the reason behind this is because he was seeking Laylatul Qadr. And we know this because he told us, Prophet ﷺ. Now, before it was revealed to him, the Prophet ﷺ, when was Laylatul Qadr? He used to do i'tikaf in the first 10 nights, and then the following year, maybe the second 10 set of nights. And then one of the nights, when he had made i'tikaf in the middle, he was about to leave, revelation came to him. And he said to the Prophet ﷺ, whomever was doing i'tikaf with me in these 10 days, right, let him stay with me, I'm going to stay in the last 10 days. Because it was revealed to me that the Laylatul Qadr will be in the last 10 days. And we all know the virtue of Laylatul Qadr and why the Prophet ﷺ was striving for this night. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr, right? It's better than 1,000 months. From its virtue, تتنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. That in that night, the angels, large numbers of angels descend. And this talks about the mercy and the virtue of this night. And it's better than 1,000 months, which means the worship in it is better than 1,000 months. If you want to calculate that, it thinks about approximately 80 something years, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Or is it 60 or 80? 83, right? 83 years. And so you can imagine, it's worth that much of a lifespan, times of work, just in one day. And the Prophet ﷺ was very, keen on attaining it. It did not matter to him whether it's the odd or the the odds or the thank you. Right? The evens or the odds. Now, what I want to talk about over here, I'm not going to, we can talk about what the Prophet ﷺ used to do. We already mentioned this. Generally, it's three things: Quran, Qiyam, in addition to fasting, and Dua. And all these, of course, have virtue to them. In the end, we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. Because whomever prays this night of Laylatul Qadr, his previous sins will be forgiven. And what's unique about it, by the way, it's different than the Qiyam and Siyam. Now we know the hadith, من صام رمضان غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. من قام رمضان غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whomever fasts Ramadan, his sins are forgiven. Whomever makes Qiyam in Ramadan, his sins are forgiven. But Laylatul Qadr is unique. Because unlike the other two, forgiveness in Laylatul Qadr, if you do Qiyam in it, is immediate. However, the other two, it's a bit conditional. That the forgiveness does not occur until the end of the month occurs. Because the hadith says, who fasts the entire month, who does Qiyam the entire month, which means that if you miss the day, you might not be you might have lost that chance, Allahu A'lam. If you lost 2 days, there's a stronger chance you've lost it. If you missed 3 days, there's even a larger chance that you lost it. And fasting is the same thing. Forgiveness for these two is limited or is conditioned at the end of Ramadan, which means Eid comes, and then forgiveness happens. However, Laylatul Qadr, it's immediate in that spot. Right? Once Laylatul Qadr is done, you're forgiven. And they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us attain Laylatul Qadr. Ameen. Now, actually what I want to do today is I want to convince you not to show up in the odd nights. Okay? I'm not saying you should show up in the evening nights either, although this is an opinion, by the way, and I'm going to explain to you why. So I'm going to try to convince you to do what the Prophet ﷺ did. Try to strive in all 10 nights, in the best of your capacity. We noticed that in the last, in the middle at least, by the end of 8 Taraweeh, we only have 3 lines left in the masjid from the men. And maybe a line or 2 at most from the sisters, right? At most. It shouldn't be that way, especially not in the last 10 nights. Alhamdulillah, it started reviving back again yesterday. We had half a masjid full by the end of the 20 rak'ahs. But we should keep it completely full. And I'm saying that because it's amazing, subhanAllah, the first day of Ramadan, how it is. And I mentioned this to some of the people, I might have mentioned to you before. It's almost like it's Eid. Literally, like people had to, if you came in 5 minutes, if I came on time for Isha, you probably would have missed Isha because of the, the issues with the parking, how they had to park. And so we want this to happen in the last 10 nights. I'm going to try to convince you why. Now the first reason is that the Prophet ﷺ himself did not tell us which night it is. The Prophet ﷺ himself, in a hadith in Sahih Muslim and Bukhari, he said that it was revealed to him, however, it was lifted. So there's a few hadith regarding this, and it's mentioned both in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. I'm going to mention a couple of them. The first one is on Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu قال, that the Prophet ﷺ قال إني أريد ليلة القدر ثم أنسيتها أو نسيتها فالتمسوها في العشر الأواخر. In another narration, فالتمسوها في العشر الأواخر الوتر. So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri is saying that the Prophet ﷺ said that I have been shown Laylatul Qadr. Urituha over here, it means that Prophet ﷺ had seen it in a vision, some sort of a revelation. That he has been shown when the Laylatul Qadr is. However, I was made to forget it. So he said, search for it in the last 10 nights. In another narration, search for it in the last 10 nights in the odd nights. In another narration, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri clarifies, why Prophet ﷺ forgot it. Prophet ﷺ came out and he said, يا أيها الناس إنها كانت أبينت لي ليلة القدر وإني خرجت لأخبركم بها فجاء رجلان يتحاقان معهما الشيطان فنسيتها فالتمسوها في العشر الأواخر من رمضان التمسوها في 9 والسابعة والخامسة. So this is another narration, still by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. The Prophet ﷺ, now this is more of a complete story. And I'm going to actually Ubadah ibn Samit narration right now, and then I collect all of it in English. He said, Ubadah ibn Samit, and this is Sahih Bukhari also. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, or Ubadah ibn Samit said, قال خرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يخبرنا بليلة القدر فتلاحى رجلان من المسلمين فقال خرجت لأخبركم بليلة القدر فتلاحى فلان وفلان فرفعت وعسى أن يكون خيرا لكم فالتمسوها في التاسعة والسابعة والخامسة. So the Prophet ﷺ in these two hadith, the combination of it is that the Prophet ﷺ had come out to tell the people, give them glad tidings, right? I was shown what Laylatul Qadr was. He's trying to inform them, because if you know it, you want us to be for sure, for certain, that you attain this Laylatul Qadr. However, it turned out that two of the Muslims of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were in the masjid, and they started arguing and fighting. And so the Prophet ﷺ got busy with them, and because of this that was occurring, it was lifted. And some of the scholars comment, they say this is from from the omen, right, or the bad side effects of Muslims arguing together, disputing together, especially in the masjid. And so it was lifted. So the Prophet ﷺ said it was lifted. And in one narration he said, search for it in the last 10 nights. In one narration, in the odd nights. And in these two narrations, the Prophet ﷺ said, he kind of he specified. He said the 9th, the 7th, and the 5th. Right? Now there's other narrations that mention. Now I'm going to tell you this. Even though the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned this, he still did i'tikaf all 10 nights. Because these ahadith in themselves, although it mentions the 9th, the 7th, and the 5th, the scholars disputed, and even the Sahaba themselves disputed, that the Prophet ﷺ mean 9 days that passed in Ramadan, or 9 days remaining in Ramadan. Okay, now this is a problem. Let me show you why. If it is, Ramadan is going to be complete. It's going to be 30 days. So we're left with 10. Okay. So let's say he's saying 9 days remaining. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is the 22nd night. Okay. But let's assume it's 29 days remaining. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It becomes the 21st night. Okay? So the Prophet ﷺ said the 9th, the 7th, or the 5th. Okay, so if the 5th, it'll probably be the 25th, right? Assuming that if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wait a second, it's 26th. Unless it's not a complete month, then it becomes the even night, which is the 25th night. The same thing with the 7th, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, this becomes the 24th night. If it's a not complete month, it becomes the 23rd night. This is why some of the Sahaba quite often would say that the Laylatul Qadr is the 24th. Some will say it's the 23rd. Okay. Now, assuming all this, and the Prophet ﷺ even said, we'll go with the hadith that he said it's an odd night. Okay. We come with the issue, did we start Ramadan unsure on time or not? Okay. If not, then you are talking about a plus or minus, even or odd. Now I'm saying all this to convince you that you should be doing it the entire, odds and evens. And it's a very legitimate, opinion. Now, if we're going to assume it's in the odd night, or let's say assume it's in the last 10 nights, we all agree, all the scholars agree, or the majority, I shouldn't say all the scholars, the majority of them agree it's in the last 10 nights based on this hadith, but even go further to sab'an yabqeen, okay, 7 remaining. Now, there are other hadiths that kind of complicate things a bit more. The Prophet ﷺ over here said, another narration from Abdullah ibn Umar. He said, "Iltamisuha fil ashr al-awakhir." Okay, search from the last 10 nights, and then he said, فَإِنْ ضَعَفَ أَحَدُكُمْ أَوْ عَجَزْ. If any of you was weak or is unable to, فَلَا يُغْلَبَنَّ عَلَى السَّبْعِ الْبَوَاقِ. He should not be weakened or weak to do the remaining 7. Okay, 7 al-bawaqi, the remaining 7. So we're still left with the issue: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Is it the 23rd or the 24th? Now the Prophet is saying the remaining, which means either from the 24th until the end, or from the 23rd until the end, exert your effort. Okay? So this is like I was talking about it. Now, one interpretation of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, okay, which kind of, his opinion, it's actually the even nights, okay, because he explained what the 7th means and the 9th means and the 5th means, so he counted from backwards. But this, of course, assuming that the month is complete. But if it's going to be a non-complete month, then it'll become odd days. We're still left with that. However, I have to mention also, I'm going to explain to why some of the scholars. So Imam Shafi'i's opinion, for example, is that the most probable night. So now this is discussing the most probable night. So now nobody knows for sure 100%. Right? Now this is why I want to kind of dismantle the idea that we should be here on the 27th night. Most people think it must be the 27th night. It's not. They say most probable, okay, most likely, most hopeful nights. Imam Shafi'i says it's either the 21st or the 23rd. The majority of scholars, they say it's the 27th. And there's evidence for that. Some of them are weak, some of them are based on calculations, some of them are based on interesting, deductions from tafsir. Okay? So for example, they say Surah Al-Qadr, okay, is how many verses? Count it quickly. How many verses? Come on, guys. 8. 8? Is that a guess? Yeah. Come on. إن أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي. So is it 5? Can somebody open the Mus'haf and look at it? Come on, guys. Don't you have phones? Open it, just to make sure. Somebody must have close by, open a book, whatever the case is. 5. Okay, good. Now, from that 5 verse, they extrapolate it. Okay? They say, listen, we have 5 verses. Let's count how many words of Surah Al-Qadr are in these 5 ayats. How many words? Okay. And I think it comes out to 27. 27, right? So it comes out to 27. And so they said, hey, listen, Laylatul Qadr then, this is of course not not solid evidence. This is they call it milah tafsir. It's kind of the salty kind of nice things about tafsir. Nothing there's no evidence for it. But they say, hey, listen, we can use this supportive. There's 27 words in here, then it must be 27th. But also, yes?
The word here, salamun here.
Yes.
Is the word 27th, but the total I think 30 words.
You're right. Right, it's the total 30. She's right. Total 30. And then here, which means this one, it is 27. Which means here, which means it is. Okay. Now the other thing that Abdullah ibn Abbas, now this has a weakness in narration. When Umar al-Khattab asked the people, what do you think which night it is? And so Ibn Abbas said it's the 7th. Okay, which means the 27th. And he said, how do you do this? He said, I looked in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the 7 heavens, He created 7 earths, and there's a lot of we go around the Kaaba how many times? 7 times. We throw how many stones? 7 stones in the Hajj. And so he brought all these 7s. Okay, now once again there's a weakness to it, but these are some of the evidence. But there's also more direct evidence, once again debatable in the hadith whether it is weak or authentic. Some of the companions said 27th, other hadith from Prophet say 27th. But in the end, we have the actions of the Prophet. And then we have the ones that we are certain are authentic hadith. They're kind of a bit ambiguous. Okay, so we should never just keep it to that. And this is why some of the scholars have the opinion that there's not one specific night of Laylatul Qadr. It can be interchanging every single year. It can fall in any of the 10, that's one opinion, or it can fall into any of the odd nights. That's the second opinion. And then Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, I think, perhaps adopts that opinion. I think Imam al-Nawawi also might adopt that opinion, that it's in the odd nights. It can fall in any of the odd nights. So 21, 23, 25, 7, all the way to the 29th. All right, so are you guys convinced? A little bit? All right. Don't waste it, right? Come as many days as you can. Now, if you can do itikaf, that's great. Based on the Shafi'i and the Hanbali opinion, that there is no minimum time for itikaf. So you should just need to make the niyyah, the intention. If you're sitting in the mid-masjid, that you are doing the intention of itikaf. where it's during the day or the night. It makes no difference. So if you're sitting right now next, inshallah, half an hour, whatever the case is, and you make the intention doing your i'tikaf, inshallah, it counts. Because you're remaining. I'tikaf means to remain. In the verse in the Quran, مَا هَذِهِ الْأَصْنَامُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ. Right? What are these statues that you remain beside? عَاكِفُون means you're remaining beside it. And so if you remain in the masjid, it's considered i'tikaf, it's taken from that. So inshallah, if you make the intention, whether it's after during Taraweeh, or any time you're sitting in the masjid, inshallah, may Allah give you the reward for it. Now, just kind of something interesting. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Fath al-Bari, explaining Sahih al-Bukhari, he had mentioned how many opinions he had reached or found. So he said, وَقَدْ اخْتَلَفَ الْعُلَمَاء فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا فِي ذَلِكَ أَكْثَرُ مِنْ 40 قَوْلًا. He said that the scholars of Islam has disputed about the Laylatul Qadr, and he has found 40 opinions. I'm just giving you the extent of the difference of opinion, right? So that we won't belittle it and just be sure for certain that it's a one specific night. We shouldn't do that, because we are cheating ourselves. You want to take the safe side. You want to make sure that you're gonna hit the target. And so it's kind of funny sometimes. May Allah reward them, bless them, they have best intention. But it almost seems like some people are trying to play it smart. Let's hit the 27th, right? It might not be the 27th. There's a very high likelihood, inshallah, but it might be, right? You should not be playing this game, but rather you should be showing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thanking Him that He allowed you to last the 10 days and exert your effort in the last 10 days, similar to how the Prophet ﷺ did. So I'm going to stop it here with that, regarding this. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what I call the Ramadan after effect, or the after Ramadan effect. Now, what am I talking about? What do you see happens after Ramadan to most people? What, they're dead? They're gone. They disappear. It's true. This is the majority of crowd disappears. I see some people they poke fun of this, although we shouldn't. They say, this is my seasonal friend. This person, it's true. He meets him only once a year in Ramadan. Every Ramadan, this is when he meets this person. The rest of the year, he disappears. He never sees him in any masjid, nothing else. And so he introduces his buddy as, this is my Ramadan buddy. I only see him once a year. And he makes fun of them. They call them, seasonal worshippers. We shouldn't. We should encourage them. It's true we should not be seasonal worshippers, but we should encourage individuals rather than making fun of them. Because it can backfire and they say, hey, listen, you're making fun of me, I'm not coming to this masjid again. And this is the last thing you want. But it's true. A lot of times we see people just kind of disappear. Is that right? Now, this is something that should not occur. And I want you to, hopefully, we can circumvent this, overcome this, because it's one of the worst things that can happen. The last thing we want to do is to view Ramadan as a momentary increase in actions of worship. I know a lot of people see this, by the way. They think of Ramadan as a momentary increase of actions of worship. Is that right? I want you to look at it from another angle. That Ramadan shows you how much, or shows you the capacity of worship that you are capable of. As a human being, this is what you're capable of. This is the level you can attain of acts of worship. Don't think of it as something as momentary. And so if you see your maximum, you should make sure that you don't fall very far short from it. To nothing, as the Shaykh over here said. He said, people don't show up. We shouldn't do that. But rather we should look at it, this is something that we can achieve. This is what we're capable of. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the ability to do. We should not do anything less. Or when we go a little bit less, we shouldn't go so far from it. But the worst thing we can do is after we have attained taqwa. We did all this to attain taqwa. We did all this to ask for forgiveness. And now we are strong. Alhamdulillah, we might have been among the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taken from the hellfire, saved us from the hellfire. The last thing we should do is do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned in a verse. We're going to give an example of the woman. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّتِي نَقَضَتْ غَزْلَهَا مِنْ بَعْدِ قُوَّةٍ أَنْكَاثًا. He said, do not be like the one, or the woman, who undoes her thread after she has spun it and it has become very strong. Which means that after she did all this work, it makes no sense. Right? It's incomprehensible. You work on creating this garment or this beautiful carpet or whatever it is that required hours and months of sweat and tears and even poking yourself maybe with nails and bleeding to create this nice, beautiful garment or carpet. And then once you're done, you say, Alhamdulillah, let me take it apart now. It makes no sense to most of us. But it seems that a lot of us, this is what we're doing. After Ramadan, this is what we're doing. We finish everything. We say, Alhamdulillah, Eid. Yes, Eid. And then everything goes downhill. Right? It seems like we got on the roller coaster, right? It's going down, now it's coming back up. We shouldn't do this. Now, Ibn Rajab had mentioned this, and he's talking about individuals that even do something further. That after all this worship, they go back to, they might have done what perhaps is bad. But he makes a comment about the people who just leave those acts of worship and go back to their normal behavior before Ramadan. I'm going to read this in Arabic because it's very beautiful, and I'm going to translate it, inshallah. So Ibn Rajab said, يا من أعتقه مولاه من النار إياك أن تعود بعد أن صرت حرا إلى رق الأوزار أيبعدك مولاك من النار وتتقرب منها وينقذك منها وأنت توقع نفسك فيها ولا تحيد عنها. So Ibn Rajab saying, O you the one who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has freed from the hellfire, beware and do not, and dare you, go back into the chains, right, of disobedience, the chains of sins, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had freed you from it. And then he said, your Lord, Mawlak, distance you away from the hellfire, and you want to get closer to it. He saves you from it, and you want to fall into it. And you want to remain into it. You don't want to leave it. Because it's incomprehensible. We're doing really all this to attain taqwa, to be forgiven. So why would we want to go back to doing all this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taught us how to free ourselves from sins by the acts we did in Ramadan, by asking for forgiveness, by not being bound and chained to our own desires. During most of the season, out of Ramadan, quite often, we find ourselves chained to our desires. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that we can control these desires. Our basic desires, we can control them. So we are more fit now to control not falling into sins. So why should we, after being freed from it, shackle ourselves with our own hands back to it? It makes no sense in reality. And so Ibn Rajab in another place he says, من صام رمضان وهو يحد he said فأما مقابلة نعمة التوفيق لصيام شهر رمضان بارتكاب المعاصي بعده فهو من فعل من بدل نعمة الله كفرا. He said, whomever reciprocates the bounty of being tawfiq, which means succeeded, to be able to be successful, to attaining Ramadan. Whomever reciprocates, because it's the bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gave us the life and enabled us to worship Him in Ramadan, whether it's doing siyam or qiyam. Reciprocating this by disobedience after Ramadan is the same as the one who has replaced the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with denying it. Kufr over here, which means denying it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a bounty, you say, hey, you didn't give me anything. So He gave you the bounty and blessings of being in Ramadan and worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we reciprocate this by saying, thank you Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're just going to go back to sinning. So everything we did has been unspun. It becomes useless. Now another thing, this is from Ka'b, one of the Sahaba. I'm just going to mention this last one about it. And it's very beautiful. Now I don't know the authenticity of it, but it's one of these things that's forgiven if it's not authentic, because the meaning is true. Ka'b says, من صام رمضان وهو يحدث نفسه أنه إذا أفطر بعد رمضان أنه لا يعصي الله دخل الجنة بغير مسألة ولا حساب. ومن صام رمضان وهو يحدث نفسه إذا أفطر بعد رمضان عصى ربه or يعصي ربه فصيامه عليه مردود. So Ka'b over here is giving two situations, two individuals. And he said, whomever fasts Ramadan, and then he tells himself that once he makes iftar after Ramadan, he would not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again. So this is a person who has completely benefited from Ramadan. And this is what we want. We want to come out of it changed. We want to be different people. We want to be at a higher level of Iman. We want to be pious people. So whomever fasts Ramadan, and he tells himself, once after Ramadan I become a muftir, which means after Ramadan he doesn't have to fast, I will not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said he would enter Jannah without mas'ala, which means being questioned. So essentially he might be among the 70,000 that he'd enter Jannah without being questioned. Just right away. There's no hisab, no judgment. But he said, whomever fasts Ramadan, so he fasts, this person is acting in forms of worship, he's fasting. Whomever fasts Ramadan, and then he tells himself, once Ramadan is over, I'm going to disobey him again, then his fasting is rejected. Because it was not beneficial whatsoever. He did not attain any benefit from it. It did not change him. He came out the same way he came in. Came in dirty, left dirty. Right? That shower in the middle did not happen. Right? The cleansing in the middle did not happen. And we should not be doing this. On the other hand, we should beware of this after effect. Not to go back to sinning. Not to go back to how we were before, but rather we need to elevate. Alright, so that being said, I'm just going to talk about 5 or 6 minutes about things we should do after Ramadan. It's not any different, by the way. It's exactly what we were doing in Ramadan. The 3 main things we do in Ramadan is what? Siyam, Quran, Qiyam. You all agree? Now after Ramadan we should not do what? What is this? Stop, right? We should not be stopping. None of these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with immense qiyam we're doing. Showed us our capability. We can say 20 rak'ahs a night. 8, 21, 30, whatever the case is. We can read a juz a day, 10 pages a day, whatever we're reading. Some people I know, mashallah, do like 5 khatmas a day. Some people do 3, some people do 1. But it's still, we finish the Quran. The last thing we want to do is once we finish the Quran, Sadaqallah al-Azim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and it's back on the shelf, comes back a year later on. Okay, you dust it out again, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, let's start over again. We should not be doing that. The last thing we should be doing is after fasting Ramadan, is not to fast at all afterwards. Right? Or not do qiyam afterwards. Because all these things, if you do that, it means that really we are seasonal worshippers. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is only worshipped in a time once a year. And it was mentioned to Bishr al-Hafi, one of the pious predecessors, Bishr al-Hafi. It was mentioned to him, he said, he was told, إِنَّ قَوْمًا يَتَعَبَّدُونَ وَيَجْتَهِدُونَ فِي رَمَضَانَ. That he was told that a group of people, they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they strive their best in Ramadan. So his response was, بِئْسَ الْقَوْمِ. These are the worst of people. لَا يَعْرِفُونَ لِلَّهِ حَقًّا إِلَّا فِي شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ. They do not know the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala except in Ramadan. Then he said, إِنَّ الصَّالِحَ الَّذِي يَتَعَبَّدْ وَيَجْتَهِدْ السَّنَةَ كُلَّهَ. He said, truly the pious one is the one who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and strives the entire year. Yes, there's a high striving in Ramadan, but that striving does not end. It's not placed in a locker and that's it, no more. It remains the entire year, Allahu A'lam. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the hadith. Now I'm saying this because I'm not asking us to maintain that level of worship we do. I'm not asking that. If you can, wallahi, it's the best thing you can do. But all I'm asking is that we should maintain some of these acts throughout the year. Because in the end, the Prophet ﷺ told us, إِنَّ أَحَبَّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ مَا دُوِّمَ عَلَيْهِ وَإِنْ قَلَّ. And this is in Sahih Bukhari al-Muslim. That the best action, the most beloved actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones that are consistent. Even if it was little. Even if it was little. So be consistent. We need that source. We should always keep that, that river of goodness flowing throughout the year. The Quran should be flowing throughout the year. It cleanses our sins. It cleanses our hearts. It purifies us. It increases and elevates us in hasanat. It's beautiful. We should maintain this. We should keep connected. So we should let that stream flow throughout the year, even if it's a trickle of a stream. It's fine. Keep it going. It washes. And so the Prophet ﷺ said this. And then Allah, to encourage us more, we know the hadith of the Qudsi of Sahih Bukhari. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا يَزَالُ عَبْدُ يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ, and that my slave continues to draw closer to me with nawafil, extra actions, sunan, until I love him. Now we all love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that right? Anybody disagrees? Please don't raise your hand. Don't. You shouldn't be here if you disagree. But whom of us, or how many of us, can claim that Allah loves them? Let's be honest. Can we claim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us? We all love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to, it's part of our faith. But how many of us can claim that Allah loves them? How many of us truly strive to be loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We should all be striving. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, you've had it set. That's it. You've won. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, He will guide you. He will protect you. He will not punish you. He will forgive your sins. He will allow you to enter Jannah. And this is what we're all seeking. He will protect you in this world and in the hereafter. In your difficulties in this world and in the hereafter. In your most difficult moments, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you. Especially at the time of your death, where the truth comes out. In your grave when you're questioned. That's part of the hereafter. He protects you. On the day of judgment, where everybody is during a hardship, He would shade you from the sun, from the hardship of that time. He would allow peace and tranquility to be bestowed upon you, where everybody's almost stressed, you're relaxed. And so we should strive this. And the best thing to do is that we get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, draw closer to Him by doing the nawafil. So just kind of to encourage us about some of the Quran, or I'm going to mention one hadith from each of these categories, right? The Quran, the Qiyam, and the Siyam. Okay? So for the Quran, this hadith is narrated by Imam Muslim, and is by Imam al-Bahili. He said, and the Prophet ﷺ said, اقرأوا القرآن فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة شفيعا لأصحابه. He said, read the Quran. So the Prophet ﷺ said, read the Quran, because on the day of judgment, it will come as a translator on your behalf, which means it will argue on your behalf. Will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him? Will Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow him to enter heaven? It's a day where we need everything we can have possibly in our defense, because we have shortcomings. And so to have the Quran on your side, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is one of the best things you can have. Now if you memorize the Quran, of course, it's something else. But this is talking about just reciting the Quran. If this is just the reward of reciting the Quran, what is the reward of memorizing the Quran? Right. And so this is one of the things that can encourage us. Now Qiyam al-Layl, I'm going to mention hadith. And this is hadith also by Abi Umama. And this is by Abu Khuzaymah and Tirmidhi rahimahullah. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, عَلَيْكُمْ بِقِيَامِ اللَّيْلِ فَإِنَّهُ دَأْبُ الصَّالِحِينَ قَبْلَكُمْ وَقُرْبَةٌ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى وَمَنْهَاتٌ عَنِ الْإِثْمِ وَتَكْفِيرِ السَّيِّئَاتِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, keep عَلَيْكُمْ بِقِيَامِ اللَّيْلِ, right? Adhere to Qiyam al-Layl. Do Qiyam al-Layl. For it is the habit of the Salihin, the pious people, from before you. So he's talking about the previous generations, they used to do Qiyam. From other, faiths and so forth, from those other prophets, they did Qiyam al-Layl, they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, keep at it, adhere to it. It is the habit of the pious people before you. And it also will draw you closer to your Lord. And it also, manhattan al-ithm, it will also prohibit you from doing wrong. It will prohibit you from doing wrong. Because if you want to think about it, most people, if they're conscious, if they're going to do something wrong, and a few minutes later they're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're going to tell themselves, how can I stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I just kind of sinned? Let me not do this. But the nature of prayer, if it truly affects you, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. If it really affects you, it will have this internal desire from you to stay away from bad things. And the Prophet ﷺ also in the hadith, he said, وَتَكْفِيرٌ لِلسَّيِّئَاتِ. It eliminates sins, it washes sins, right? It reduces sins. And in the end, really, this is what we want to do to elevate our iman. We need to increase our hasanat and reduce our sins. This is how we draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now from Siyam, obviously there's a lot of benefits from it, but the least of it, the Prophet ﷺ said, and this is by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Sahih al-Bukhari Muslim, he said, مَنْ صَامَ يَوْمًا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ بَعَدَ اللَّهُ وَجْهَهُ عَنِ النَّارِ 70 خَرِيفًا. Whomever fasts for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala any day, just a day, whomever fasts one day for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places a distance between his face and the hellfire, a distance of 70 falls, which means 70 years. Which means if a person is going to walk for 70 years, it'll take him that long to reach the hellfire. This is the distance Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts between you and the hellfire. And we all know about the sunnah of fasting, whether it's Mondays and Thursdays, or the 3 days a month. Now, by the way, it's sunnah to fast 3 days a month. It's more of a sunnah to fast the 13th and 14th and 15th. So these are two different sunnahs. Okay, 13th, 14th, and 15th of the lunar calendar, when it's full moon, this is sunnah to fast it. But just generally fasting 3 days of any part of the month is a sunnah. Right? Mondays and Thursdays is a sunnah. Keep it a habit. Do not just fast in Ramadan. Fast outside of Ramadan. It's kind of funny now that non-Muslims are doing this, by the way. It's true, non-Muslims are doing. It's a form of therapy for them. They go into therapy, an institution. It's kind of funny, they tell them to do two things: prostrate on the ground and fast. It's unbelievable. And then, subhanAllah, we are the people of this religion. Now, we don't want to do it for those worldly benefits, by the way. We should purify our intention. It pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's just weird that, the non-Muslims say, hey, eat dates, it's good for you. Hey, fast, it's good for you. It produces a lot of antioxidants. It gets rid of cancer. Hey, you should prostrate. It removes your psychological problems. Right? It removes depression from you. SubhanAllah, they don't know the reason for all these things. Right? It's inherent in us, we should be doing all these things. Now, promise is the last thing I'm going to say. I know I've said this 3 times. But it just came through my head. It's a reminder that after Ramadan, we have Shawwal. Try to fast 6 days of Shawwal. The Prophet ﷺ said, whomever fasts Ramadan, من صام رمضان ثم أتبعه بست من شوال, and then he follows that by 6 days of Shawwal, then it's as if he had fasted the entire year. The reason behind it is because we fasted 29 or 30 days of Ramadan, so you multiply by 10. الحسنة بعشر أمثالها. The reward of one hasanah is 10. So that one day in Ramadan is worth 10. So that's how many days? 10 times 30 is 300. Okay, and then we're going to add 6 days. Multiply by 10, that's 360 days. So you're fasting the entire month. Now I don't want to go into the debate of, should we, whomever has days remaining, I might as well tell you. A lot of the scholars say if you have missed days in Ramadan, you should not be fasting anything extra until you make it up. So it's better if you are, if you fasted because you did not fast because you're traveling, or you're sick, or you're female, you had your monthly time of the month, and you did not fast. It's better to make that up first in Shawwal and then fast 6 days. That's one opinion of scholars. The other opinion says it's irrelevant. You can fast 6 of Shawwal and then make up the Ramadan later on. But it's better to stay on the safe side. Allahu a'lam.